Hi, I'm Anna Denton-Jones from Refreshing Law, and it's the 26th of September 2022 when I'm making this video about a draft piece of legislation, a bill that has been put in front of Parliament last week. Now, a cynic might say that it was placed under the radar a little bit whilst our attention was perhaps on the funeral of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, and then the budget announcements and lots of changes there. So people are only just starting to begin to register that this bill has been proposed. When I first read about it last week, I sat with my head in my hands at my desk and quite honestly could have cried, and it's the first time that any piece of legislation has had that effect on me. Normally I am welcoming changes, I'm wanting to understand how it's going to work, and my brain goes into overdrive thinking about what the impact's going to be for my clients and ideas and things like that. What this bill is about is retained EU law. I don't want to get really technical and talk through the detail because you will all get bored very quickly. Suffice it to say that, as you might imagine, the law that originates in the EU during the time that we were members of the European Union has become completely enmeshed in our domestic legal position. There are lots of rights that stem from European law that are now just part and parcel of what we do here in the UK, and that people would be quite happy with. I'm thinking about things like holiday pay, for example. Essentially, what this piece of legislation does is fundamentally pull the rug out from underneath everything that's been there historically, with a view to asserting, if you like, at a political level, the primacy of UK domestic law, making it, I don't know, if we were having a competition, rank more highly than anything from Europe, and essentially get rid of huge swathes of secondary legislation from Europe and work on the basis that unless specifically something is put back in a 15-month period from when the legislation came into force, the end of 2023, that it would disappear. Now, this is broad ranging. It doesn't just affect my area of law, it affects consumer rights, it affects things like the environment, but I'm just going to focus on employment law stuff. So potentially we could be losing TUPE, not service provision changes, because that is just the UK. We're the only European country that has that, but all the rest of it, potentially, straight away, you can see utter chaos. Part-time workers, protections for those who work on fixed-term contracts, agency worker regulations. Think bonfire of regulations. A huge amount of law essentially could be chucked on this bonfire, leaving us with what I can only predict to be quite wide-ranging chaos, where employers who are relatively confident at the moment that they know what they're doing in certain areas are going to have to be forced to get legal advice, and lawyers are going to have to try and advise on what the position now is. And this has echoes for me in a kind of triggering way of what happened in the middle of the pandemic, where, if you recall, when we were learning about furlough and the goalpost kept moving every 2 minutes. I remember there was one week where the law on the Monday and the law on the Wednesday and the law on the Friday were all different. And the feeling as a lawyer of not being able to do my job effectively for clients because of that moving target, it feels like we would be entering into that kind of space again. So the reason why I am making this little video today is to update people as to that proposal. I will put alongside the video a link to an Employment Lawyers Association paper that was written 2 years ago to warn the government about doing this, because that will give you, it's only a couple of pages long, a flavour of the sorts of problems that were flagged up to government, and also an article from the Law Society Gazette that talks us through a little bit about the bill as well. I've just written to my MP to ask him to not vote for this bill. You might like to think about doing the same if you feel as strongly as me. If anyone's got any questions, please do get in touch. It's adenton@refreshinglawltd.co.uk. Thank you very much.